I'll tell you something. Like, for example, Bazaar, on the other hand, like French Bazaar or Italian Bazaar, they still have very often very interesting images from
Agreed.
very good stylists. Like Robbie Spencer
Agreed.
does a lot of French Bazaar. And so why they do it there, you know? I mean, it still exists. Maybe Vogue much less. Yeah, this is the Katie Barnett. Like, they didn't even talk about this cover, but this for me is a fantastic work. I love Katie Barnett because, in
What
my
about the cover do you love, just out of curiosity?
I think that Katie Barnett for me is I put her very high in my preference as a stylist because even though she works a lot with black, which is a very difficult thing to do because if you take out all colors and you work with black and white, it has been done so much, it's very difficult to create something that has your own codes. And in this specific one, first of all, I like the image because it's very playful. And on the side also you have like illustration as well. I don't know if it's her who did the illustration or somebody else. So what is interesting, I think, is even though you cannot tell what exactly she's wearing, the model as a brand, it looks contemporary. But you cannot tell if she's wearing fashion or not. You see? But and this is a very difficult thing, in my opinion, to do. Plus the fact that it's very playful with the dish and like that. I find this editorial is one of my very favorites. Not many people talked about that in terms of creativity and in terms of capacity. And you can tell it's her, which is a very difficult thing to do because she's just wearing black, the model. But the way she constructs silhouettes, Katie Barnett, and the way she does the character she creates, the kind of posing the models have, all that is
Yeah.
very personal to her. And she achieved to do that. And congratulations to her for that. This very interesting image, you see, if you do a close up. Don't really know what exactly she's wearing.
Yeah.
It's layering, beautifully layered. It's not one piece of clothing. You don't even know if she's wearing fashion. You cannot, you see, but it looks very today. And this is a very difficult thing to do. I mean, not to use the pieces of clothing themselves for you to bring an interesting image forth. This is a very difficult thing to do, in my opinion, because she only has to work there with the silhouette. She has to create a silhouette that looks of today. And that makes it like very challenging, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So that's why I appreciate so much this kind of work. It's difficult to do. I don't know if you agree in or if you see what I mean in that.
No, no, no. I definitely see what you're saying for sure.
Like this is about
It
Italia, for
it
example, you
stands
see?
out
Yeah.
in a media landscape where like a lot of campaigns don't even like make sense. Like even I was talking about because the Vogue cover, right? It was basically like part of the press run of Marty Supreme, which is Timothy Chalamet's film that he's
Yeah.
starring in, which is about a ping pong player. And the whole editorial, it seemed like they were trying to make it Dune themed, but it's like this is not the press run for Dune. This is the press run for Marty Supreme. So it's just a lack of understanding of like what is the mission, what are you even pushing, and not even knowing what they're supposed to be pushing. It's just so confusing. Granted, selfishly, I don't mind that fashion
Hmm.
is chaotic like this because it's why I'm a consultant and it's why I have a job in fashion because so many people are confused, but it really does like grind my gears sometimes when I see these like really basic things that people can't
Yeah, yeah, me too.
get right.
Yeah.
Really, really odd. Just to talk about some more like imagery, just to get your thoughts, because I know this is a
Yeah.
stylist that you're a big fan of. Can you
I
just
really
tell
love
us
him.
about the
He's
work and then the images?
Yeah. So Imre Asher is another stylist I love a lot. He is one of the very few that works with color. Very few stylists that are good in color. That's another thing. I don't know why. It seems to be very complex. In my opinion, is not. In my case, is not. Maybe it's a talent as well. I don't know. But like maybe stylists also think that doing black and white makes things always more intellectual. So photographers sometimes think that, they end up. I disagree with that. You can balance if you know how to balance color. It can be it can have a lot of layers and depth. So I like this work that he's doing with a photographer, a Dutch photographer who is very known. This was, I think, Bazaar US. He did 2 or 3 editorials on that, and it was one of the few that I like that are outdoors. I like his take on color, the photographer's take on color also. This is another one. This is Bazaar, which is the very first issue of Bazaar France. And for example, this is a great editorial because they went to the mountains to really do that. And he used like gears from mountaineering and hiking mixed with clothing. So from far, it doesn't, I have to show you the whole editorial for you to see, because from the far images, you don't really see that. But I found it very beautiful, interesting work. Imre is very playful. That's why I like him. He doesn't expected things. He's in Dazed, actually. He's not editor-in-chief, like
Yeah,
what was the other
at
fashion
Dazed.
director? Yeah, Dazed. So he's very playful. I like that. He has a very distinct, like, for example, you ask me what makes a good stylist. Again, we come back to the same thing, their identity. You have to develop, I think, your personal codes in terms of colorways, posing of models, silhouettes. Well, not silhouettes, the way you create silhouettes, or the way you layer, or what extra things also as a stylist you're creating, other pieces. This is so cute. I find it so funny and interesting.
Yeah, but you can even
You
see
see,
through
it's
styling the
creative. This
images
is
have
creative
personality.
styling, because he's a very talented stylist. So, and he, of course, that's why he's in Days, because he's that good. So yeah, I find this work very interesting. The Bazaar had, I think, more than one covers. He did one, and then Panos Yiapanis did another one. She's my very favorite, actually. You see, it's very playful always. Even the posing, you can tell is Imra because of the way he's doing. So, I mean, once a stylist has their own vision, and they create their own language, and they need to do that. You need to find what you need to say and how you're going to say it. And then you use clothes from this season, other seasons, you create things yourself, you use things that are non-clothes, and then from that you build. And you become consistent, like he's very consistent in what he does. That's why he's a great stylist. That's
Talk
what makes
about
a
this
great stylist for
stylist
me.
too, because I know this is your favorite stylist.
Because there is a reason for that. Not my favorite, but one of my very, like my top
Yeah,
five, let's say. Panos Yiapanis is a legendary stylist who has been working with Rick Owens. I don't know if you know that.
yeah,
He
yeah.
with
Few
Rick Owens
things.
many years. This is like the one just after. This is an old one. This one, the one after, is the one he did for Bazaar, where he is heavily layering always. Panos Yiapanis, he has like a very chaotic kind of approach, but in his own way, it's very distinct. I knew a friend of mine had told me once that one time he knew somebody who was at an editorial on the set at Dazed, many years ago, when Panos Yiapanis was doing an editorial, and he had with him two seamstresses who were
Oh wow.
stitching things on the spot, on top of the clothes. So this is the kind of stylists I want to see, like that
But
really
that's what I
take
was
things.
talking about with Tom, and they take it because they know exactly what they want, and there's nothing that's going to get in the way of them
Yes.
creating what they want. If they need to make it from scratch, they'll make it.
Yeah, I find this very interesting. And they were talking also at boring.com about one of the main, like, most interesting covers was that of Panos Yiapanis on another magazine. And it's very interesting. You go a little bit more down, you'll find it. Not this one, the one where he destroyed, like well,
It was this
shall,
one, wasn't it?
no, it was another one.
Because I know this one people talk about.
Yeah, this was this one.
Oh, this one, this one. Oh yeah, yeah,
You cannot forget, you see an image like this,
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
remember it. So he took, I think, I don't know if these are fashion old clothes or just old clothes, and then he reworked them. And then, this is like Martin has done that, Shalayan has done that, like, soil them or oxidize or different, which creates texture, it makes it so interesting, simply experimenting with clothes like that. So very interesting work again. Yeah, you see so much texture. So this for me is really interesting styling, and it deserves to be seen because you remember it.
And that's why I don't understand why these stylists, when it comes to like the big money jobs, like the Vogues, where the budgets are a lot bigger, I just don't understand why they aren't tapped. Why they keep tapping the same tired photographers and tired stylists that don't do anything interesting. I don't understand it.
I guess it's politics also, like who is in what position, who is chosen to be in what position. Look how beautiful that is. Yeah.
But that's the problem. Are people in fashion based on, I know you, so that I'm only going to work with you? Or are we trying to make like good imagery that stands the test of time? Are you trying to make, clothing that stands the test of time? Are we trying to push the industry forward?
Yeah, that should be the aim. I mean, I'm telling you, that should be your personal need, first of all, to express
Yeah.
before even being recognized. Like the first should be, I want to express that for myself, and then the rest should come. So if we start from the other way around, then you shouldn't be doing that job. I mean, you're not
Yeah.
happy either. I mean, it's not fulfilling for you who is doing the job as well, I think, you see. It becomes like bureaucratic almost, like let's put this and this. And as you say, Vogue has access to so much, like budget-wise. Like I love the fact
Clothing
that
wise.
yeah, I mean, this is a very interesting editorial as well.
Yeah, Willy Vanderpeer. Great imagery.
You see, and this is his very personal way of layering. He has that a little bit chaotic and like this kind of many layers of clothing. He does that very often. Too many textures, but that is his signature, and this
Yeah.
is very personal to him. Yeah. So once you have that kind of, but Ken.
Can't imagine this one is so hard to work with. Oh, he said some people are terrible to work with. Yeah, some
But
people,
then
I
it's
guess.
the character. I mean, the personality and the character. But this is everywhere. It's some people also might become terrible to work with because they're very selective. That's another thing. So
Which is a
not,
good thing. It's a
yeah,
good thing to be selective.
yeah. Like
Because it
Anna
means you
Wintour,
won't compromise a
or people,
vision.
they say some people look very strict but that's a different thing. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It means that sometimes you just focus on your work and you want the best and you're very selective. You are going to look a little bit mean to some people, but that doesn't
Yeah.
mean you're a mean person. But then of course there are many people that are like that, but this is everywhere. It's not only the fashion industry. It's everywhere is like this. Yeah, so when you go through the pictures, you can see like there is always a thread. Like when stylist is good, you can always see like a common denominator,
Yeah.
even if they're using
100%.
different. Is the way they approach the silhouettes, the way they approach how they're going to layer things, how they're going to position the models. So that's why a great stylist, you cannot copy them.
Yeah.
Even if you copy them, you cannot really copy them because it's a very personal and yeah, that's an old editorial he did. This is for Givenchy. Yeah, Panos Yiapanis is the
Oh,
only
amazing.
Greek. This is older work, but he has worked with everybody. He has worked really with all the good photographers, all the good magazines. I think he's a collector too, if I'm not mistaken.
He's not the only Greek stylist. There's also you.
No, yeah, I mean on that level.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I'm not yet there, but I will be. I need some time, but a little bit of time. But yeah, I mean, in terms of very known stylist,
Yeah.
he's the only one.
Okay, another stylist I want to talk about.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
So talk to us about this image.
I mean, this is what we were saying, like just a while back, that we take again images from the past and we recreate. Personally, I didn't like this editorial. I didn't find it inspiring or interesting. And I don't like when we but this is my personal, I don't like, taking back from things from the 80s or from the 90s, especially from the 80s is not my era actually. So I don't know what's your opinion, like as an imagery, how you find it. I don't see anything particularly interesting in that. Maybe I'm missing something, I don't know, but it was very much focused on hair
Yeah.
and makeup much more than clothes. But I mean, he does fantastic work. I have other examples of his work that are much more interesting in my opinion. But
Yeah,
like this is very yeah,
I
he
think
has a lot of
it was just weird and it didn't help because I think the whole editorial down to like even the font and like the placement of the text, I think everything just made it look because it's like supposed to be retro themed,
yes.
but then the text isn't retro and it's pink. So it's kind of like clashing with the actual theme of the photography and styling itself and the makeup.
Interesting that you say that. Yeah, that you would expect that everything should look like, yeah, retro.
Yeah.
But why should we do retro things? This is something I never understand. This is something is not me at all.
I think there's a time for it, to be honest. There's times
Okay.
when I think doing retro things makes sense, depending on it. Just for me, it depends on what is the editorial for.
Yeah.
What story are they trying to tell? Like if you're doing a campaign for Dario Vitale's Versace, then it kind of has to look retro
Yeah.
because it's kind of in theme with
Yes.
the inspiration of the collection in the first place. So I think it makes sense to do it. Just depends on the context of the
On the
actual
context. Yeah.
campaign. But just doing it randomly, I think is a bit pointless.
Yeah. So he does a lot. I think He works with Di Repubblica a lot, and I love his styling. He's very sleek. His silhouettes are, he doesn't layer much. You can also recognize him, the hairstyles that he uses. Again, the way he positions models, he uses like a little bit of color here and there very often. He's very recognizable as well. And of course, as a stylist, he has been working for many, many years. He has done a lot of Italian Vogue. He has worked, I think, a lot with Suzani.
Yeah.
He has done a lot of fantastic work in the past. So, of course, he was consulting Versace for many, many years. I don't know if he still, I don't know. I don't think he's doing it now with his last collection for Versace. So yeah, he's a stylist that I love as well. But I don't know why this cover is considered so interesting. In my opinion, not. It's just an example of a retro cover. You see, he uses a lot of black as well. He works with color very well, of course, as well. But his vision is always very clean, but with very interesting. It depends on the work. He uses a lot of gloves, for example. That he uses his colors through that. These are a little bit simpler images, let's say.
Yeah, it's like the Hyder Ackerman, Tom Ford stuff, so it makes sense why it looked like that.
Yeah, he does, exactly. He was the stylist, so he's that kind of stylist. Exactly. He's very sleek, very, there's a sharpness in the images very often. Great stylist, nothing to say. Yeah.
Which is a good thing also, because I think as a brand, you kind of have to understand what stylists can
work with you. Yes, exactly.
So even like down to like as a creative director, when you pick stylists to work with, you have to think who can execute this based on what their style is. I think it's kind of weird if someone has like one stylist for everything. I think that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, no. Yeah, of course it doesn't. Like Katie Barnett, for example, she's doing for Dries Van Noten.
Yeah.
Dries Van Noten now. And you can tell, with the things she puts on the hair, like there is this androgynous approach, and she's very, even though herself, she doesn't use much color, and Dries uses a lot, but like the way the silhouettes are approached, it reminds me of her. There is an androgynous approach to it. Something a little bit, how to say it, a little bit monastic in what she does, a little bit, I cannot find the word. Yeah. So I think she fits very well. I don't know if she's consulting for anyone else, but I think for Dries Van Noten, she's doing great work. And he, of course, for Tom Ford is fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen a lot of that, like this campaign, we've all kind of seen it.
Yeah.
I feel like most people have seen this one. Another stylist I want to talk about, Robbie Spencer. What are your thoughts on Robbie Spencer?
What can I say about Robbie Spencer? He's also one of my very favorite ones. He's very intellectual, in my opinion. He has always a softness in what he does, a softness in his layering as well. There's always like a subtle touch very often here and there. Is not like Yiapanis that like the layering is like very extravagant and heavy on purpose. So this is Margiela. Yeah. Which I'm not sure why they did Miley Cyrus. Many people discussed
the famous one when they were like, she's a brand ambassador. And
yeah, I think now everybody can become a brand ambassador for every brand. I think in the end of the day, like, I don't know, it's weird. She could have equally done, I don't know, maybe Dior or Chanel or what, it's, yeah. I liked a lot this black and white, this Ib Kamara that he did. But I mean, I like his work in general a lot, like. This imagery, it's very beautiful, very contemporary, He's layering softly. He uses a lot of checkers, a lot of natural colors. He doesn't use very strong colorways most of the times. He does a lot of bazaar for France, and he's doing excellent work in my opinion, because somehow he balances like what a commercial magazine should do, which is difficult, I think, to do, like what a commercial magazine does, but actually there is also creativity in there, but not like he doesn't go that far as he would go with other editorials. Like he has one bazaar, if you go a little bit more down, where he used different, where is it? Because he does a lot of that. Yeah, here, like with all the stripes, where he like probably he took some cheap trench coat and he like created, how is it called? Fringes. He fringed it and he took clothes that are fringed, like Craig Green, because he's consulting also for Craig Green. And then he fringed also like a t-shirt or things like that, and he created layers of fringe. I found that so interesting. It's like a subtle thing, but it's interesting. You see what I'm saying? So, and even this, very beautiful image. And it's good that these images, you can see them at the French Bazaar.
Yeah. Also, Connect Catwalk. Yeah, that's why we wanted to do a stream where we just talk about stylists, because one, I have a stylist here with me, and I actually don't, because we were talking about this, I don't talk about this a lot. Like, I haven't talked about this on the stream, like, talked about stylists. So yeah, really fun. But I'm sure some of you will realize when we start going through some of these editorials, like everyone here must have, because I've talked about this, seen this campaign, for example.
It was a very good campaign.
Yeah, amazing campaign, by the way. So I think sometimes people see this imagery but don't know like who is behind the styling and stuff. So
Yes,
the
yes,
more like
yes.
we talk about these styles, you actually realize you're quite familiar with a lot of their work. You just didn't maybe know that's who it was.
And it's a shame, because stylists very often are the creative eye. Sometimes even more than the photographer,
Oh yeah,
really.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. A lot of times when I've been on set, actually, the stylists have all the ideas of like how the image should look more so than the photographer. The photographer just kind of takes the image.
Yeah. I mean, this is a more simpler editorial, but again, he has done other more layered things and other simpler things. But there is always this like little detail, little something that he adds that makes it very personal. If you can tell it's him, like he will have a polo very often, like checkers, as you see. You see these colorways, for example, here, it's very much him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, subtle, but on point. You can tell he's a very good stylist. He was also fashion director at Dazed years ago. No.
Yeah, I will say, obviously, I don't like Days for other reasons, but I will say when it
Yeah,
comes to fashion imagery,
yeah.
like because Days, I think the writing is atrocious, but like so many other things about Days that's like,
Yeah. I agree with you.
terrible. But the
I
imagery
agree
has
with you.
always been good. Even like Ib Kamara and like some of those covers
Yes.
were amazing. Like I think it was during COVID, they had this cover with nurses. That cover was so good. Can't seem to find it, but I'll look for it as we're talking. But that was a really good cover. So I think Dazed image wise anyway. It's kind of like ID too. ID image wise over the years they've had some like really good imagery and like they've had great fashion directors over the years.
Yeah.
It says a lot about like the smaller magazines and their eye for talent.
For sure, yes. I mean,
Okay, who?
obviously, Kamara is a very good stylist, but he's not styling anymore. He's
Yeah,
doing other things. Maybe he said what he had to say because his images also were very strong and very, of course, very personal to him. So maybe he said what he needed to say through that. Sometimes when you create so strong images, like how I don't know for how long you can, keep developing within that, or maybe he was just not interested anymore. He wanted to become a creative director, which is fine. But of course, many people know him. He's very good with color. He's very flamboyant in color. Is not my personal aesthetic, but that's just personal. It doesn't mean he's not a great stylist, of course.
yeah. I do like the way that he uses color. Okay, yeah, I found the cover I was talking about. Is this cover? Let me see if we can go closer.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it was like around the time of like COVID and people were
COVID.
talking about getting like, vaccinated and stuff like that. But no, he had some like really good covers at Days. So yeah, like I said, Days have had some like amazing stylists and like fashion
Yeah.
directors for sure.
Yeah.
Who else?
Yeah, they,
Who
they
else?
always play with different ideas. That's why Imre is so good in that because he likes playing and experimenting with ideas. Days in a way is very playful in what they do.
Yeah.
Like,
Actually, another stylist we talked about earlier before we hopped on the stream,
mm,
Raphael.
yes,
Talk to me about Raphael.
I haven't followed his work that much. Some of his work I like. This particular cover, I mean, it's interesting visually, but it's not something. I mean, when there is so much saturation in color and so much clash in color, usually it's not my favorite personal. But if we go through the images, I would say it's creative
I really like a lot of the styling, to be honest.
from his work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the
Yeah,
use
he's a
of
good
color is
stylist. Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the use of color. There's a lot of like movement in the images. It seems like that's
Yes.
like a signature to like have things moving. Even when
Yeah.
the models are stationary, it looks like the clothing is moving. So
Yes,
a
yes.
model is still stationary. If we can go through, it's like okay, cool. The model is here, but look at like the position of the collar, for example.
Yes.
I kind of like that. I really like that. Things
Mm-hmm.
being off center. So I mean, like it's a lot about like movement. It's cool because it's different to like
Yeah.
a lot of other stylists. Like once again, models always in motion.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, for sure. I agree.
Yeah, so I like it. I do think signature wise though,
Mm.
Raphael is still like it seems like
Developing.
experimenting, yeah, and developing in terms of like having like a signature look because there's like still a bit of like chaos in terms of like let's say like the different colors. Sometimes you layer, sometimes you don't. But it's coming. It's just with time.
Yeah.
like stuff like this is completely different, like completely different.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, I mean,
But in
in
terms
a
of the
way,
mood, it's still there. And of course,
you know,
this is John
yeah.
Galliano, so that makes sense. Like John Galliano, Margiela.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there was a specific movement there, anyways, inspired by the catwalk.
And that's why, like, once again, talking about creative directors picking the right stylist, you pick a stylist that already, you know, uses movement in their work, and it's a big theme. It's like a match made in heaven.
Yes, yes.
But yeah, once again, Paul Mescal playing football. So the thing is, there's so many great stylists in fashion. It's just like, that's why it frustrates me when sometimes I see editorials or covers at the top, because it's just like, we know so many good stylists that if like they were there, it would be a totally different conversation.
Yeah.
Wait, let's see what Jennifer is asking. Please discuss. We use stylists for very different jobs. The creative print work we're discussing now, and then as personal stylists, totally different jobs. We need new titles. Yeah, we touched on this earlier. It's like, yeah, people that do like editorial and like campaigns, it's a totally different like category of styling to essentially what is a personal stylist, which is what like celebrity stylists are. Yeah, they're like two different things. I guess those are the two different work, like editorial stylist versus personal, but maybe there needs to be a
Yeah.
bigger distinction.
But can I say something on that, just to add something? If we talk about, there are different categories, but if you are a very good editorial campaign, like fashion on that level kind of stylist, you can do all the rest,
Oh
but
yeah,
not the
because
other
it's
way.
easy to do the
Exactly.
others. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the distinction. Yeah. That's like the, the top of the, in terms of difficulty, in terms of creativity, complexity, codes and all that. But then if you can do that, then you can do, video clips, and then you can do celebrity, and then, you can do probably not maybe film, because it's a different category altogether, but the rest you can do easily. In terms of skill, I'm talking, maybe you need, we said other skills, but in terms of like for the clothing itself, it shouldn't be a
Yeah.
problem. Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot easier to dumb down your creativity for a commercial
Exactly.
job than it
Exactly.
is
Exactly.
to adopt creativity out of nowhere for
Exactly.
something that requires it.
Exactly.
That's definitely true.
Yeah.
So do most start off in personal style? No, it just depends what kind of stylist you are. I mean, I went when I was in fashion school. Almost all the stylists were doing editorial stuff. Almost no one was doing. I mean, all of us were young, so I mean, who has access to a celebrity in the first place? So most of them start with editorial styling. I actually think that the worst stylists are the stylists that start with personal styling, because they never develop their creative mind. They don't develop their signatures. They
Yeah.
just start dressing people, and that's where they end. Especially if they make like good money from it, they're just never going to progress.
Yes, yes, very true. And then maybe here we mean by editorial style, yeah, by personal styling, maybe they mean not even celebrity styling, because there is also like personal styling for
For themselves.
individuals, like wardrobe
Yeah.
stylists. I don't know if they mean that in the
Oh
comments.
yeah, like like
Maybe
personal
they mean
stuff, like Selfridges and stuff. Where
like
it's like, yeah,
yeah, I mean, this is another level altogether. We are talking very, very different levels. Then it's like
yeah.
personal stylist is like, I mean, for a fashion stylist, it should be kindergarten stuff. It's like, how to fit like this with that, and a little bit of color. And this is another, I mean, they're not even comparable at all then at this point.
His personal styling.
It's
The thing is that
true.
most people, especially people that like aren't into fashion or not quote unquote fashionable, even though that's subjective, they just want to look good. And what looking good to most people is just, I just want something. To be honest, it just means just get them clothes that fit. Most people
Yeah.
look weird because they don't wear clothing that fits properly. And the second you fix that issue, they already look like a million times better. And that's like most of your job done as a personal stylist.
Yes, yes. Yeah, for sure. Fitting is very important. This is something that amazes me.
People wear
How
stuff
it's,
that doesn't fit.
yeah, it amazes me how they don't see it. I mean, it shouldn't be like a very difficult, I don't know, it's weird. Like, I'm not saying you should be doing complex combinations or wearing avant-garde thing, but like just fitting, or like do basic color. And it's so funny that people end up like black, white, brown, beige, they are so afraid of color. But then again,
That's like
it's a
me.
whole other discussion. No, you're not afraid. This is you like that.
No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
Yeah, you don't have a problem with that.
That's my signature, Yoji
Exactly.
and D Rick.
And yes. So, but then I say the thing is also when you want to wear color. That's
Yeah.
another thing. When you wear color but you buy cheap, we're entering another discussion. But where you buy cheap, the fabric is bad. All colors look bad.
Yeah.
Like I think there was one designer, I don't remember who was saying that there is no bad color, it's just bad fabrics. And it's very true. If the fabric is of great quality, all colorways look fantastic. Like with the way the color reflects, it's so important. So people probably don't dare wearing colors because the quality of what they buy, if it's like poor, it's gonna show off awful. So they would prefer just wearing black, like more simple things. But then it ends up becoming, I don't know,
Yeah, I
non-saying.
always tell people that because I think some people think that buying cheap is like, oh, we're saving money, right? But it looks bad. Like the clothing looks bad. Like sometimes I've seen like when people buy trousers from Shein
Yes.
and the way it actually drapes on the body is terrible because
That's what I was telling you. Yeah, if it's
they're
that is,
so
but yeah.
flimsy. The trousers are so flimsy that like it looks weird, even when the way it sits on your legs. And if you just invested slightly more and got like a nice, 100% cotton or 100% wool trouser, you don't even have to spend loads of money. Like people always have this misconception that it's going to cost loads of money. It will sit so much better. And then if it doesn't fit perfectly, that's why we have tailors. Unless you live in an ivory tower, there are going to be tailors that are affordable. Just to like shorten the trousers, they'll charge you, €5. Or like
Yeah.
if you're in a country like where I'm from, Nigeria, it's way less than that. So like it could be the equivalent of like 30p to shorten your trousers. So it's just about like knowing and being really intentional about these things. I think some people think it's like a haha moment when it's like, you guys spent so and so amount of money and I spent $1 on my Shein trousers. It's like I can tell. I can see that.
And they
I
think
can
that it's
see.
smart what they did.
Yeah, because they think that they're saving money, but then they start complaining that why don't my trousers fit
Yeah, you
properly?
can save money by looking like a clown. Yeah, no problem. It's a choice. I mean, like there's basic decency when it comes to clothing. I mean, there are like you cannot, but I don't know. People say they don't. That's another thing that people say they don't care about clothing, but I don't believe that neither. Very often they don't know how to dress, so they prefer to say that clothing is a very superficial thing, and I prefer to
Yeah.
pay attention. No, it's not. It's like it's part of you, who you are. It's part
You're
of who
like
you
you're
are.
my spirit animal. I've always thought that like when people, especially people that like aren't in the fashion industry or whatever, and because like I work in fashion, so people will be like, why do you talk about fashion so much? Like it's such a frivolous thing, and then they're like, I don't care about fashion, and then
Oh,
no, but then you look at the way they dress, and it's like you're probably just saying that because like you just know that you just don't know how to dress in a way that you like, so you just say you don't care about it as kind of like a
yeah,
coping
people, I
mechanism.
always say that. Yeah, I always say that people that are snobbish about people who dress, and I'm not talking about people who dress to show off, I'm talking about people who really
Yeah.
understand and dress, well and for themselves. I always say it's out of your, insecurity that you're telling me this, nothing else.
Clothing is how you present yourself out to your path through. That's one way to put it. This YouTube channel runs on your support. If you want to support the channel, you can subscribe to my Patreon. You'll gain access to exclusive content that includes everything from my Patreon podcast, where I give a behind the scenes insight into the fashion industry, as well as a fashion book club where I review my favorite fashion books. You can also check out my fashion ebook, which highlights the best fashion journalists to follow, definitions of common fashion terminology, and how to determine what a good source of fashion information is. The links to everything are in the description below.